Hello everyone. Now you will hear a brief summary of the animated movie The Sea Beast. Enjoy! A boy is escaping on a piece of wreckage from a ship that is burning and sinking nearby. Just below him, a gigantic monster swims by. It is the creature that caused the shipwreck. The story takes us to an orphanage, where little Maisie Brumble reads to the other children about monsters that ravaged the shores and sank ships. But brave hunters appeared and almost wiped out all the monsters, led by the renowned Captain Crow. The nanny enters and sends the children to bed, and she asks Maisie to give up her attempts to escape from there. However, as soon as the woman leaves, Maisie, with the help of other orphans, sneaks out of the orphanage and runs to the seashore. Jacob Crow, aboard the ship Inevitable, is preparing to encounter the legendary monster Red Bluster. It had blinded his adoptive father, the great hunter Captain Crow, 30 years ago. Meanwhile, Captain Crow's assistant, Sarah Sharp, lost her leg during a hunt. In the distance, the tail of Red Bluster appears, but Leah, the ship's lookout, reports an attack on other hunters. According to the code, they are obliged to help their colleagues first and foremost. So Captain Crow orders a new course, even though he has been waiting for a rematch with the creature for 30 years. Brickleback destroys the second ship with its tentacles, but Captain Crow's crew distracts it. The harpooners take their battle positions, waiting for the command to attack, but first, they bombard the monster with cannon shots. The cannonballs partially penetrate Brickleback's sturdy armor, and arrows rain down on its vulnerable spots. The monster disappears beneath the ship and resurfaces, almost capsizing it. It clamps onto the vessel with its jaws and captures sailors with its tentacles. Jacob tries to free them. He grabs a harpoon and thrusts it into Brickleback's head, but in return, he is thrown 100 meters away from the ship. The monster nearly swallows the hunter, but he manages to swim away and mount Brickleback. Captain Crow seizes a harpoon, jumps, and plunges it directly into the heart of the gigantic creature. The beast sinks to the bottom, and Crow starts sawing off its horn to present it to the king. Suddenly, Brickleback comes back to life and drags the hunter into the abyss. However, the captain regained consciousness on the deck. He was saved, but they won't be able to continue hunting the sea beast. The ship won't withstand another battle. Therefore, the order was given to return to the port of Three Bridges. Half of the crew is injured. Jacob's wound is also being stitched up. The hunters are worried that they won't be able to defeat the Red Bluster. But then at least you will die honorably, like hunters. Jacob inspires them. The captain called him into his cabin. Crow says that once they repair the ship, they will unleash all their power on the Red Bluster. But this will be his last voyage as captain. He will hand over the ship to Jacob. The old man remembers how he saved the boy who was clinging to a piece of the shipwreck. Even then, Jacob vowed to rid humanity of these cursed creatures. The Inevitable enters the harbor. The townspeople joyfully welcome their heroes. Among them is little Maisie Brumble. The girl met Jacob when he was celebrating in a tavern. Her parents were hunters too, but died during a battle with the monsters. Maisie intends to join their team. Jacob immediately refused her. Well, in that case, she will talk to Captain Crow himself. To prevent this, Jacob put the girl in a carriage and ordered her to be taken back to the orphanage. The next day, Captain Crow, Jacob, and Sarah Sharp arrived at the palace of the king. They presented the horn of Brickleback to the ruler, but immediately received a reprimand for letting the Red Bluster escape. Admiral Hornigold deceitfully informed the monarch about it. The king informs them that the crown will no longer pay for the services of the hunters. An incredibly powerful ship called the Imperator has been built, which they will use to destroy all the remaining sea monsters. Crow criticizes the foolish design of the ship, and most importantly, its captain is a complete idiot who has never encountered monsters in his life. Jacob managed to persuade them to have one more attempt at killing the sea beast. Let the royal family see who can do it first, them or Hornigold on the Imperator. The Inevitable sets sail once again. The crew plans to attack the Red Demon, but for that, they have to sail farther than ever before, where no ship has ventured. It turned out that Maisie was hiding in one of the barrels. Jacob was planning to disembark her at the nearest port, but the captain liked the spirited girl, and he decided to let her stay. Maisie was settled with Sarah Sharp, whose cabin resembles an arsenal. The woman gave the little neighbor a knife. The girl wants to kill the red bluster as much as the captain does. Suddenly, a loud roar is heard. The ship shakes and one of the bombs, falling into the water, explodes nearby. The monster moves toward the ship. The cannons are loaded with incendiary projectiles. They bombard the sea beast as soon as it emerges from the depths. Dozens of harpoons pierce its thick skin. The creature has to drag the ship along until it becomes exhausted. However, the beast starts swimming in circles, creating a massive whirlpool. Jacob insisted on cutting the ropes, warning that the ship would sink if they didn't, but the captain was against it, despite the prohibition. Maisie began cutting the rope, and Jacob didn't stop her. The crew was saved, but the rescuers themselves fell into the water and came face to face with the monster. However, it simply swam away. The captain pulled out his gun and demanded that they bring him the girl who disobeyed orders. But suddenly, in front of everyone's eyes, the monster swallowed Jacob and the girl. They found themselves in the creature's nostril. In the morning, the monster swam to a tropical island. Jacob accidentally tickled the creature's nose with a spear. It sneezed, blowing Maisie out. Soon, it also expelled Jacob. The monster looked at the girl with interest and showed no aggression. So Maisie prevented Jacob from stabbing it in the eye with a knife. But the man didn't calm down. Then the creature simply waved its fin, and a huge wave swept away the hunter. It continued on its way. Terrifying sounds could be heard from the forest. The people found refuge in a giant shell. The girl asked, "Is it true that monsters used to come ashore, and danger was everywhere?" Although it was long ago, the hunter was confident that it was true. However, Maisie believed that the monsters weren't as bad as they seemed. Maybe they should just be left alone. It seemed that the monster wanted to protect them from the captain who pointed a gun at them. Crow himself was angry because the monster had eaten his successor. But he had no opportunity for revenge. The ship was sinking. They needed to return to Wittrock. But Crow demanded that they sail to the island and trade with the Sea Witch, and he didn't care that it went against the hunter's code. Waking up in the morning, Maisie discovered a small blue creature next to her, which immediately ran away. She chased after it to a clearing. The girl fed the little creature and picked it up. Accidentally stepping on an eggshell, she froze in place. Jacob tried to help her and advised against keeping the blue creature. The hunter grabbed the monster by the head and threw it into the bushes. They knew nothing about this creature and the dangers it might pose. Jacob lost his balance and damaged several more eggs. Yellow creatures hatched from them and started screaming at the top of their lungs. The yolks thought that the humans were their parents and hugged the couple. However, their real mother soon emerged from the jungle. Jacob thought the monster was about to trample them, but the mother just wanted to take her last offspring, which clung to the hunter's back. The man breathed a sigh of relief. Now they were safe. But suddenly, they were attacked by a giant purple monster resembling a gigantic crab. It had almost swallowed the man when the creature appeared and attacked the crab. Maisie ended up on the creature's back, and Simona grabbed the monster's horn. The girl helped the red one by grabbing the crab's eye. Jacob joined the fight, injuring the monster with a harpoon. The creature grabbed the opponent's claw and threw it back into the sea. The blue creature helped Maisie reach a boat, although it was clear they wouldn't be able to sail anywhere. The girl decided to negotiate with the creature and, with the help of the blue one and various fruits, asked the monster to take them home. The giant creature agreed and carried the people on its head. The creature swam in an unknown direction. Jacob tried to explain to the monster where it needed to turn, but Maisie was much better at showing the direction they should go. Dozens of harpoons protruded from the creature's skin. Maisie began removing them. Meanwhile, Captain Crow arrived at the island where the Sea Witch lived. The old woman sold poison that could kill the greatest monster and a weapon capable of piercing even the toughest skin. It was called the Hand of God. Hungry Jacob tried to harpoon a fish, but he couldn't manage it. Then the creature made it so the fish jumped out of the water on its own, and finally, the people, along with the blue one, could eat. Jacob decided to help the girl retrieve the harpoons from the monster. He began to understand that the books were lying about the monsters. Perhaps they didn't start this war. During a storm, the couple hid once again in the creature's nostril. At the bottom of the sea lay dozens of sunken ships and monster skeletons. The hunting party realized that they were all cursed after making a deal with the sea witch. A swarm of city spinners swam past the ship. Most likely the creature scared them off, and Captain Crow changed course. The monster brought the people to the desired island. Maisie asks not to be returned to the orphanage, hoping that they can become a family. Jacob thanked Revan and promised never to hunt monsters again. The people released Blue and bid farewell to Revan. But something caught the creature's scent. In the bay, there was the royal ship Emperor. One of the soldiers shot the monster, provoking it to attack, sweeping everything in its path, including Maisie. The ship fired a salvo from all its cannons, but it couldn't even slow down the giant. In an instant, Revan rammed the ship, breaking it in half. The monster intended to kill Hornigold, but Jacob shot it. The creature caught sight of the wounded girl. At that moment, a ship appeared on the horizon, belonging to Captain Crow, and the monster lunged towards it. Crow fired a massive harpoon that struck Revan on the first try. Poison began spreading through the gigantic organism, but they pulled out the harpoon to prevent the creature from dying, and it was finished off right before the eyes of the king and queen. When they tied the monster with ropes to the ship, Jacob and the girl swam over. Crow found it hard to believe that his protege had befriended the monster. When Maisie regained consciousness, she tried to stab the captain with a knife, but she lacked the strength. Maisie asked Jacob to help their friend, but he decided to return to the hunters. Maisie asked for Sarah Sharp's help, but she refused to betray her crew. The ship with the captured monster entered the harbor, and it turned out that Blue had been following them all along. The little creature bit off a piece of the ship, freeing Maisie. The girl saw the royal crest and realized that all the books about monsters had been printed on the orders of the monarchs. Inevitable stopped right in front of the king's palace. The hunters emerged victorious in the competition, proving that only they could deal with the monsters. Meanwhile, Maisie tried to cut the rope binding Revan. Crow was ready to finish off his prey, but he was stopped by Jacob. The captain was disappointed in his protege and attacked him with a sword. During the fight, he threw Jacob into the water, and Sarah Sharp discovered the girl and helped her free the monster. Poisoned Revan tried to rise but collapsed onto the ship and one of the palace towers. The creature gradually regained its senses. The soldiers rolled out the cannons. Revan spotted his enemy and was about to kill him, but Maisie stood in his way. She convinced her friend that if he did it, the enmity would never end. Jacob took a spear and broke it over his knee. Then Maisie addressed the people of the kingdom. She told them that the monarchs had fed them years of false propaganda, turning the sea creatures into horrifying killer monsters and making people hate them. The kings used hunters to expand their empire and enrich themselves, so it was time to end the long-standing feud. Revan turned around to swim away, and the general refused to obey the king's order to open fire. The monarchs had no choice but to flee. Since then, the hunters' ships no longer ventured into monster-infested waters, and Maisie found a new family.